Even as crews scramble to contain the Los Angeles wildfires, investigators are already looking into how they started, including the possibility that an electric transmission tower was the origin of the Eden fire. That's according to the Los Angeles Times. Southern California Edison, the power company, said it's unlikely that its equipment caused the fire. And joining us now is Ed Nordskog. He is an arson profiler and investigator. Ed, thanks so much for joining us. What do you make of that possibility that it was the power company's equipment that caused this?
I say that's a decent possibility. I've investigated fires in Eaton Canyon. There are power transmission lines there. They have been involved in past fires over the years, so that's a reasonable place to start.
And, you know, we were talking to this couple earlier on in the program, and, you know, a lot of people are tearing their hair out trying to figure out how it got this bad. As this couple was saying, and you know this, Ed, wildfires happen in Southern California. It's a part of the daily life there that you have to prepare for, but nothing like this that anybody can really remember. Do you have any theories as to how it got this bad? And what are your thoughts on the fire hydrants and whether the fire crews were ready and doing everything that they needed to be doing to get ready for this?
Well, the fire crews are ready. They deal with wildfires all the time in Southern California, but this was an extraordinary wind event. They haven't had a wind event like this since I've been working, and that's over 25 years in the area. We've had high winds, but not to this level. And that was preceded, of course, by the dry year. It was a very dry, hot, dry year. And there was a lot of moisture last year, which caused more brush. So all three of those things came together, and now you have this catastrophe. And
so you think it may be very well a possibility here that it was these hurricane force wind gusts that just absolutely made this much worse than anybody thought was possible?
Yes, especially in the Palisades area. They haven't had fire in there for decades. And it's not a normal place to have fire. And the hurricane force winds were the biggest factor for that fire.
And I want to talk about the Palisades fire. A Washington Post investigated showed that it was likely that it may have been started near where some New Year's Eve fireworks were being used, and there was a blaze that had been extinguished just days before. Is it possible that there were some remaining hot spots from that, and this was a reignition fire?
Yes. So in the term of art in the wildland sector, it's called a holdover fire, and that's a reasonable theory at this point. They're going to investigate it today, but there is a burn pattern in the area. You can tell just as the first smoke is spotted. So there was a previous fire roughly in that area. So that's what the investigative teams will be working on.
And do you think that there's a possibility that arsonists were behind any of this?
Well, you have yes and no. You have 6 larger fires going on in Los Angeles. There's no indication right now that any of them were intentionally started by arsonists. However, Los Angeles has 10 million people in it. They have 50, 60 fires a day in Los Angeles every day of the year. 30 or 40 of them are set by homeless people or transient type people, and those are all sort of criminal fires. Most of them do not get big, but on a wind-driven day they could. So it's not uncommon to have multiple arson arrests in LA every day.
And because that is what is so puzzling about all of this. We were just showing the map and the way that these fires are spaced apart. I mean, it goes to what you were saying, that you do have numerous fires happening all at once in LA County, but not anything like this. And this Palisades fire, the way it swept across these neighborhoods. I mean, if you're just sitting on a bar stool talking to a guy in there and he says, "How the hell did this happen?" What do you say?
Again, it goes back to your very first question. It's just a very unique set of circumstances that came together, and the biggest factor for Palisades was the wind. It was one of the biggest winds we've ever seen here. So that took what would normally be a smaller fire and drove it into this massive event.
All right, Ed Nordskog, thank you very much for your expertise. We appreciate it this morning.
You're welcome.
And donations are pouring in.